Okay, and so Danny is playing with his trucks there in the hallway, and the ball rolls up, and the first thing we note is the odd carpet pattern, which is unlike any carpet pattern that I think any of us have ever seen. There's even T-shirts and posters with that carpet pattern on it, by the way. I always wondered, why, even after I'd figured out that the film was about the faking of the Apollo moon landings, I could not figure out why the carpeting had this odd shape on it. And then as I was making my film, for some reason, thankfully, I Google imaged in the landing strip where Apollo 11 and 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 took off, launch pad 39A in Miami, and whoa, I could not believe it. But there the pattern not exactly, but so closely emulated the pattern that was on the carpeting that Danny was sitting on that I really couldn't believe it, including the driveway leading up to the launch pad. It was exactly the same configuration as the bottom thing coming out of the hexagonal pattern on the carpet. So Danny is playing. We see that there's a launch pad, and then you realize that the trucks and everything kind of look like the trucks and stuff that you see around a rocket launch pad before it launches, filling up the fuel and all that. And so I thought, well, that's really strange. And then, of course, Danny stands up, and we see his sweater. After the ball is thrown, Danny stands up, and we see a crudely sewn sweater which says Apollo 11 on it with a rocket launching. And so, I mean, it's not even symbolic. Danny is a rocket who launches off the pad, and the rocket is Apollo 11. And it's pretty clear. And then Danny goes down the hallway, and he goes to room 237. At this point, when I'm watching The Shining, my first time when I'm figuring this out, I've got my laptop on by this point, and I stopped the movie, and somewhere in the dim recesses of my education, I remember somewhere that the moon was 237,000 miles away, and I'd always remembered that because it was an even number. In other words, it wasn't 237,180 or something. It just zeroed out exactly at 23700. And so I Googled in, distance Earth to moon and got 237,000. It's the mean distance. Don't forget, the moon goes in and out, gets closer. It's in a slightly elliptical orbit, so it's not exactly 237,000. It's the mean distance. Sometimes it's 245,000. Sometimes it's closer than 237, but it averages out to 237. Now with the lasers bouncing off the moon, they've now challenged that, and they say, well, it's not quite that. But in 1980 and in the 1960s, when Kubrick was working, that was the distance all science books gave as the distance between the Earth and the moon, 237,000 miles.